Welcome to a little mini episode of Wet Your Palate.
Yes.
We're going to tell you a little story about our next podcast. Of course, go with your palate. Episode number blibbity 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 bloop. You got Chris, Fat Mario Rubio, and me, Joe Wagner. We'll be talking about wine, entrepreneurship, and whatever the fuck else. As always, we had a very special guest, a guy I've known for a long time. He is one of the partners and founders of In Good Company. It's a hospitality group out of the Northeast. And humble beginnings, starting with his dad at a restaurant, and then him and his brothers and friends, all expanding out to create what is an amazing hospitality group that we, fortunately, at Copper Cane, have been working with for quite a few years. They continue to drive forward over 24 locations. And he's here to tell his origin story and give us some insights on how to best operate a growing business from the ground up.
Yeah, and I like that you guys, it sounds like you guys have had a lot of good times together that you don't really share much details on, but makes it very intriguing.
Yeah, there are some things you can't tell the stories of. You know, you got to be there. This is what I hate about iPhones now. It's like everybody's like recording shit. It's like, no, there are some moments that are left to just memory.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, no, hey, I feel you.
So yeah.
I'm just, I have a little FOMO, so hey.
Terence Tubridy.
Yes.
Right? Did we mention his
Tubbs.
name? Tubbs.
Tubbs is here.
So he is here with us.
And I like that you guys also have in common, you come from humble family beginnings, and you're keeping that going for generations to generations.
To generations and generations. And, it is getting harder and harder because corporate America and our government is so lovely us every day of the week.
Oh, we got to get down. How's that?
Yeah.
Is that liven up for you? That's what I was gonna ask about the first time you guys met.
There's some things I can't talk about.
Why does this always happen? Every time I'm asking about when was the first, tell me about the first time you met Joe and hung out. And Terrence, I just talked to him last week. I had the same thing. It was like, hey, we had a good time.
We had a group. We had a fun good time. It's New York. Hey.
It's like this. And Joe, hanging out with Joe is like, how many times have you been to Vegas or how many times have you been to Nashville? And they all combine into kind of one night. And you're like, wait a minute, did that happen that time? Oh yeah, no, that was the time. No, it's all one night with Joe Webb.
I thought that was because of you, honestly. I don't. We're firing gasoline. That was good times, very good times.
It sounds like a compliment. All I know is that I want to hang out with both you guys at one time and see what this is all about. I want to see Vegas meets Nashville meets everything else.
Maybe it's because of our early roots with did you say you were a DJ?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, DJ for.
Maybe that was it. See, I never made any money being a DJ. I hope you did. But I tried it in my late teens, and man, it didn't work. So I had to resort to wine.
Yeah.
I DJed probably 3-4 nights a week for about 5 years. From 18 all the way until I was like 22 or 23, and it was a lot of fun, man. I mean, it was again just you're talking about technology and all that, right? There was no mobile DJ systems, right? You'd have to lug everything in and lug everything out. And the bars in New York, they don't close till 4 a.m. So you're up till sunrise, and honestly, that helped with me. That helped with my networking because I was bouncing around from bar to bar to bar and meeting people and seeing how they run their places and the bartender's pretty good or and getting to know the city and then DJ'd out in the Hamptons and met even more people. And that at a young age was and it was rough because I wanted to stay home, lifeguard, and do the Rockaway dream as they call it, lifeguard and bartending in Rockaway. You make a ton of money, but for me, I knew if I was DJing and I was going out to the Hamptons or the Jersey Shore or wherever, I was meeting new people and I was expanding a network of friends and people that eventually I was probably going to do business with or get to know. And that was fun. That was the best part of it.
I bet.
The best part.
In the early 2000s, DJs were the promoters, in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Like that was a big part of what you were doing out there too, not just entertaining people.
If you wanted to, nothing's changed really, but if you wanted a full bar, right? You put on you put on bartenders that were popular, right? You put on people that knew a lot of people, and same thing. You put on a DJ that you knew was gonna draw a crowd. It was on us really to bring people to to these places, and again, that's why that was like our secret sauce early on. Was like we had this we had a great big network of people because we had a lot of friends, we had a large family, and that kind of helped catapult us into more opportunities. It was awesome.
What did you get paid per gig as a DJ? Do you recall?
Oh, I do. I do. I was getting paid. This is 2001. This is the summer of 2001. I was getting paid $400 a night, Friday and Saturday, $400 at in the Hamptons. And then in the city, I was getting anywhere between 300 to 600 a night in 2001. Now I know DJs right now are gonna hear this that work for me and be like, "Yo, I want to get." It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen.
Well, okay, you had mentioned earlier that back then you didn't just pull up a laptop and connect to speakers.
Yeah.
Like, were you using turntables or did you have a CD set up?
I was doing CDs.
Okay.
And that was like the first part of like the Denon. There was a mixing board that we were able to start matching beats, and that technology happened so fast. I mean, literally from turntable to Serato was what? It was like 9 years.
Yeah,
it was crazy. The first form of Seratos were like 2006, 2007. I mean, I wasn't DJing by then, but I also looked at it. I'm like, man, I just show up, open up a computer, and start playing. This is too easy.
Man, I didn't know that Serato's been around since that early. But yeah, I guess you'd see it in your world probably first. And man, yeah, I had the old school turntables, and those things were like, I think it was like an 80-pound box to get those things around, and then speakers, and then whatever I mean, maybe it was just more of a traditionalist. Want to do a little scratching, whatever. But yeah, anyways, I didn't make $400 to $600 a night. I'll tell you that.
I think you're like thinking about going and collecting some debts or something right now. You were asking how much did you get paid?
No shit.
Do you need help? I can help.
Oh, like that, dude.
That's it. Yeah,
Right
we need
there.
some help here.
That's how they would do it back there.
Elections department in the house.
No one ever missed a payment.
Everybody pays.
Everybody pays. I like that.
Did want to ask you about, because I think I know the answer to this, but when you look at prospective people to work with, whether they're people just coming in entry level in the organization or high level or even a group that you're looking to work with. So what are the most, maybe I'll be more direct, is work ethic the most important factor in hiring, or do you have other parameters that you look at? Because I can see from you worked, like you're saying, 5-6 years old, just sorting bottles, doing whatever, right? Like I strongly believe, I've got a bunch of kids. I strongly believe that setting that it's a key for success no matter what. You could be a genius. You could, get your doctorate in something, but if you don't have work ethic, you're just kind of taking up space and just going through the motions, right? So, and that's my opinion. Now, I hope I didn't put an answer into your ear, but how much of a role does work ethic play when you're interviewing to bring somebody new into the organization?
I think it's simpler. Work ethic can mean a lot of different things. Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
There's some simple things, right? You show up on time, right? How's your attitude when you do show up? And then your willingness to say yes. On top of that, your willingness to ask for help, and those things are what kind of like, when I'm telling general managers if they have an issue, I'm like, are they showing up on time? It's the first. I go back to my father. It's the first thing you'll see that if they really give a shit about their job, if they show up on time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple. Right? Cut out all the bullshit. It's that simple. So they show up on time, right? And on time is not strolling in, iced coffee, and they just spent $6 on Starbucks and they're complaining that they don't have any money. It's I'm kidding, but It's true. Like, but are they showing up? Do they show up on time? And do they say what they need? Um, like again, like it's a tough business, right? So like being on 5 days a week or 4 days a week, bartending, or serving, or managing a floor, man, it does, it's rough. It's rough. So like you want to make sure that like anybody that's in this business has an ethic to work hard. It's how are they doing that in that kind of process, and making sure that we're there to lift them up, or to hold their hand, like all of those things. I mean that's at the end of the day, like any employee that we have, anybody that we're hiring, am I going to, our job as owners is to make sure that they don't fail. They don't fail. We're going to try. We're going to try. We're going to try until we can't try anymore. And there's no other way to kind of put it. If somebody doesn't want it, that issue is going to work itself out just in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, on the hiring side, it's like those silly questions are like, and they're not silly because I think it presents an opportunity to insightfulness. But like, what's your superhero quality, or what was the first car that you owned? Things like that, and the answers can be pretty telling sometimes, to what they might need help with, or how you're going to potentially manage them. Because at the end of the day, like once you take on the liability of an employee, they're yours. You're married. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think you summarized it perfect in the beginning of what you just said, where it really is the simple elements that really show you where somebody wants to be and what they want to do. So that's probably the soundbite. and I wish that we had the younger generation, and I think that they're kind of starting to come into their own. I find like the younger generation, especially in the hospitality side of things, they're so quick to move around and just jump on an extra quarter per hour and that sort of thing, and not have the conversation. I think that's what bugged me the most, was not willing to have the conversation, where they would just one day say like, "Hey, I'm moving on." Like, "Hey, man, we could have had this conversation. We could really like work something out. What does your future look like?" And so I think that quiet quitting, the kind of lack of communication, I don't know if that's driven by social media, not wanting to have these face-to-faces, not wanting to be assertive with their needs and all that. I don't know what it is. I think it's all getting hashed out right now in our society. But I think that at some point here, this next generation, the Gen Z, I guess, they're gonna find their way. All of us in here, we're gonna have to adapt in a way, which I'm a little worried about, because I think my mouth is gonna get my ass in trouble. But I think we're gonna have to adapt to some of the intricacies of how they operate and what their needs are, and how kind of tailored things need to be for them without them communicating it. I don't know. It's a really funky situation.
I think it comes down to trust. If and again, it's think about the generation that's growing up, of like what the challenges that everybody's had to face over the past 10 years. I mean, but it comes down to for me. I hate when that happens. I hate when somebody comes to me like, "Hey, I'm leaving," and I'm like, "Where are you going?" I'm going to open up my own place. That's amazing. That's awesome. What can we help you with? Right? Like, that's what we're all about. But I'm sure there's a hesitancy on their side saying like, "Yeah, I don't want to tell them because it's fear. Fear comes from all. It simply comes from is fear." And like, we kind of remind them, don't believe what you think. Like, don't believe what you think. It's like how often I tell my kids, like, if they're a little bit down, and I'm like, "Well, what are you thinking?" They're like, "Why are you believing what you're thinking?" Like, it just switch that narrative. How am I facing that? Accountability is huge, I think, for the up and coming generation, right? We have this thing we do face to faces, and we write down like, "Yo, where are we not hitting the mark for you?" That's what we first tackle. Like, what do you like about this job? What do you like to? And then where are we missing the mark? And then we bring it up on top and say, in the right hand corner, on this worksheet. We say, okay, here's what we need from you. Here's I understand your challenges now, and now here's the strategy that we're going to implement, and let's see how this goes. And guess what? We're going to check back in 4 weeks and see, how your lateness is going, or do you still think that person doesn't like you, or any of those kinds of things. I mean, it's just it could be the smallest little thing.
Yeah, and it can become infectious, dangerous.
And as we're on, dangerous.
Dangerous, yes.
So awesome, because I feel like you guys have a lot of the same like standards instilled through family and what you've learned in doing it, and then also how you're applying it to a business that is always evolving, especially through technology. Getting into conversations, I mean, how social media has really kind of taken on this very impactful place in business. You brought up a good point too, even with Google, right? You shared this story with me that, I mean, we could have a little laugh on it. I'm sure it was pretty annoying when it was happening, right? I want to know if you wanted to touch on that, but simply the business that was using Google right next door to you, right? To use your name or your likeness.
Yeah, it's happening so fast. I just got out of a marketing meeting now where to boost on Instagram, I believe Apple is now doing a service fee on top of what Meta charges. So like these are things that you're just, it's moving so quickly, and you're trying to manage, you're trying to get yourself out there. And the tech platforms are very sneaky, right? So like I could buy the name. Let's just take a popular place, and most popular place, Peter Luger's, right? And I take Peter Luger's Steakhouse, and I just open up a steakhouse in Manhattan, and let me buy Peter Luger's name, and the advertising puts it right on top, and it's kind of false, right? I type in Peter Luger's, and this name pops up, and a few scrolling down, then you see the real Peter Luger's. But like that's and it's happened to us. And sometimes you don't even realize that it's happening to you. And your online presence, like back in the day, curb appeal of like an Irish pub, beautiful Irish pubs with these beautiful outdoors, and now your online presence is your curb appeal. And if your curb appeal online is not like tip top shape, meaning everything's hitting, which is, I think, nearly impossible to kind of check all those boxes, you're behind. You're behind the next guy, and that that competitive kind of.
Well, it's driven everything from the aesthetics of the plate you're serving, the aesthetic design of the cocktail, the postable moment in your restaurant design. I mean, like. These are all things that we talk about in any of our hospitality areas, right? So our tasting room, it's like we need to make sure we have these things that are potentially going to be what people post, so that's the advertiser, right? That's the new third-party endorsement. And you don't even need to know this person. It's just that's your third-party endorsement. Still, the best advertising, I think, is third-party endorsement. But that's turned to social media, especially with the younger generation. And I do the same thing. If I'm going to a new place, I'll look it up, check out the reviews, and just get a general idea, how many stars, whatever, and then go to their Instagram and just take a look at it and see. And it's like, man, yeah, if you're not in all of that shit, especially as entrenched in hospitality as you are, then oh man, you're missing the boat. And I think a lot of people don't do it, but you guys build beautiful places. You do beautiful work and everything you put out in front of the customer. Once you get them in the door, then you just got to execute on good service and good ambiance. Everything else is will come along, I would imagine. I mean, I'm trying to make it really sound simple. I know it takes a shit ton. I know it takes a shit ton of work.
Yeah, I said like we just opened up the Rockaway Hotel in Rockaway Beach in Queens, and somebody asked like what's it like, and we've been in the hotel business before and managing within hotels. At least bars and restaurants close. Hotels don't close.
Yeah.
They're open 24/7, like a cruise. And so like again, managing so much of that online world it presents a huge challenge. You have to make sure everything is aligned as as best as possible. And obviously, there's tech, and there's things that help with that. But if somebody reads something somewhere, they're going to take that and say, no, that's what the policy is, even though on your website it clearly states something that the complete opposite. But like that's yeah, the complexities now are so much more on top of running a complex business, which is the restaurant business.
Yeah.
You know?
And so I've got to ask you, what was your evolution into wine?
No, my evolution into wine personally. I hated wine growing up. I'm Irish.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're not about wine in your community, man. I know.
The only time we're drinking wine is on Sunday, and the priest is giving it to us, man. So, but I first got into wine on a trip to Italy when I was about 22, 23 years old, and obviously fell in love with it. But as I've grown, as kind of like grown up in this business, and I've grown to get to people like you and know you, and there's not many people like you, but there are people in Sonoma and Rutherford that not taking yourself so seriously with wine, right? And that was the biggest, I think the biggest challenge for the American consumer is like, how educated do I have to be about wine? And when I talk to people like you, and especially even your team, and some others that we like to buy from, it's like, no, man, wine at the end of the day is meant to be shared. Good, bad, or indifferent, it's meant to be shared and have fun. And yeah, all the tasting going through the tasting notes, and the nose, and all that has scared off so many consumers into purchasing, at least wine lists.
I am 100% with you. I mean, you just nailed it, and that's the biggest barrier to future success in the wine business is that the industry is pretentious still. And I'm like, why the fuck are we still pretentious?
No, I don't disagree. Like, obviously there is a seriousness about the business, and there's a seriousness about proper ways to serve wine, and steps of service, and obviously even growing wine. There's all those things, but at the end of the day, I think it's about who you're with, and obviously, like, again, like the people I've met, even your people, like Alex, why we continue to buy. Yeah, there's great wine all over the world. Why we continue to buy from certain places is because of the people that are there selling it to us, and that's it. It's that person to person connection, and breaking down that kind of breaking down the barriers of what Again, I hate the pretentiousness of wine. I hate it.
Yeah. It is a major issue. It's something we're trying to combat, but we're only so big. But I think we do a pretty decent job in a small scale of it. But at the end of the day, it's just like, I mean, you could say fine dining was the same thing, right? It was. I mean, it's you could be Thomas Keller and have the French Laundry and all that stuff, but that I think scares more people off than than would we even want to experience. It's like, how the fuck am I supposed to eat this? But when you bring it down to just the basics and accommodating what the human desire is, and most of that is about like feeling like you're part of whatever that community is. You're part of the restaurant community, you're part of the wine community, part of whatever community, that you're accepted and your opinion is valued, rather than sitting by the sidelines and trying to understand what it is that's going on, because that's just going to push you away.
If there's a product or there's something that makes people feel inferior to another person, it's not really kind of a business model for me. Even just like there's been many times where we could have went celebrity chef, or get celebrities involved with a place that we're opening, or lean towards much more of a contemporary design and all of that. But at the end of the day, like we serve the 99%. We serve the guy going to the office. We serve the fireman. We serve the cop. We serve everybody. And the brand of restaurants that we do are approachable, And that's at the end of the day what we want to be. Just approachable, come as you are. And again, I think the longevity of us in this business is due to that kind of, just that mindset. And there's always those fancy, nothing doing those fancy, Michelin, like, God bless them. And that is a lot of work. And, that's great. But at the end of the day, like, there's guys that have been working with us for 20 years. Like, their kids now are managers for us. And like, if you look at the P&L of some of these places, there's no way they could survive without, support, right? And all of that. So that's where we take it much more of a blue collar sense of the word in New York.
That's good. And do you have any sommeliers on the payroll?
No, we have a few people working towards. No, we don't.
But you have some people that are working towards getting a certification, and I do appreciate that. That's if you all of a sudden find yourself attracted to wine and want to learn more, go ahead and get that certification. Go ahead and advance your career, be a better bar manager, be a better server, be whatever it might be, but just don't be that master somm that's like trying to shove shit down people's throat. That's it. But I had a feeling we had never talked about it. I had a feeling you probably didn't have you probably had down to earth people that actually know the business as well as what they, and more importantly, what their customers like.
Yeah, we know what's going to sell and what's not going to sell. And again, somm, because of the classification laws and similar to California, you have to be careful sometimes putting somms on payroll with tip policies, and that's a topic for a day. But
well, great. Well, I know we're starting to run down on time right now, but I want to say thank you very much for coming on with us and telling your story, man. I think people are going to find some great interest in this and get some inspiration from it.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Well, hey,
awesome.
I might be out in New York this coming fall, so let's definitely get together and we'll tie one on or something. I'm not sure.
All right. Can I?
Oh,
do you need to go?
Can I get in there? Can I get in there? Because I know you guys aren't going to be able to talk about it, so I at least want I want to have this experience.
1,000%. You're there, pal. Chris.
All right. Thank you, Tubbs. I appreciate it.
All right, Terence. Thanks a lot, man. Good talking to you.
Great talking to you. Thank you.